Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're going to be doing our top 5 do not draft players for 2020. And so each of us came up with 5 players for this, and I guess this is an interesting one because it's a personal preference kind of a deal, and it's really going to be based on where people are kind of ranked right now. And in some instances, it's just players that I just don't want to draft at all for some reason. And this wasn't the easiest list, I guess, to come up with, but I came up with 5 that I feel decent about right now. And, you know, it's just guys that I can't see myself. Pretty much it's like if this is the next guy on the board at like running back or whatever, wide receiver, and I'm in a draft, I probably go to another position. I don't know if that's kind of how you feel about the same. Just guys, you just don't – you're not going to get them on your team unless, they go 3-4 rounds later than they should.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's just don't want these guys. So let's jump into this list, Jeff. Let's go 5 to 1. Let's see what you got. I'm curious where you're going here. What do you got number 5?
So number 5, I actually have a player that I really like, and I think that he will be good. But because how high he is going, I can't justify actually spending on him, right? So I'm actually going to go Kyler Murray with number 5. I know a lot of people love him, but right now he is ranked 3rd and 4th. And right now I was looking at an ESPN ranking list, and I was also looking at Fantasy Pros, which obviously, puts together quite a few people. So it has a good basis, but so 3rd and 4th. And the thing about this is they're ranking him as tier 1, right? And I can justify that, but at the same time, he has not proved that he is going to be a Lamar Jackson, a Mahomes, of that caliber. And if I wait, which he goes number 3, number 4, I can wait on quarterback and get someone that might be just as good later on, right? We've seen a second-year slump. We saw it with Baker Mayfield just a year ago. The thing that does buoy him a little more is last year he had 93 rushes for 500 yards, right? So if his rushing, stays good, I don't think he'll completely fall off. But I also don't think that, it's very difficult to predict that he is going to be at that elite level that I need in order to go out and get a quarterback that would cost me that much. So even though I like him, I can't justify the price tag right now.
So as I was putting this list together and I'm looking at rankings of players, Kyler Murray jumped out to me. I didn't put him on the list. I mean, the other day on Instagram, I made an early players I love list, and Kyler made the list because I do like where he's going this year.
I like him as well. I think the talent is there. I'm really excited about him. But
yes, I had the same feeling you did. I couldn't put him on my list. I just couldn't do it. But I get it. Remember, people listening, this is do not draft as in there's no way you're going to draft him at where he's going. So Kyler Murray's going ahead of like Deshaun Watson, even that little bit. I know Deshaun doesn't have Hopkins. I get that. Now Murray does. I get that. I still have Deshaun is more proven to me, and I think he can make it work with the receivers he has there because I think he has some decent receivers yet with him. I see. That's the thing. Kyler as the 4th quarterback, I don't do it. I'd drop down. I'd get somebody later. And there's a lot of good, even like, Aaron Rodgers hasn't been the same yet, but still there's Rodgers and Breeze and Matt Ryan and Wentz and Stafford and all these guys that I would just get later on and not waste my time drafting Murray too early.
And look, yeah, exactly. Thank you. And I look at it this way too, right? So last year, weeks 1 through 17, he played all 16 games, right? Not everyone did, and he finished as the 7th quarterback overall. He put up good numbers, and you're thinking Cardinals put him in a great spot, right? They got him a marquee go-to wide receiver. He runs a little bit. He does this. We just saw what Lamar Jackson could do if you run. Everyone gets really, really hyped about him, right? Deshaun Watson was a couple of spots ahead of him. He lost his main target. Jameis Winston has fallen off the map, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen to him. But saying all of that, it does not mean that Kyler Murray de facto is going to just jump up. I mean, he was still 40 points behind someone like Deshaun Watson, right? And Josh Allen was still a spot above him. And, he runs a lot as well. So I think that there's just other people you can go and get that will just be better for the money you're spending. And that's what it comes down to, is because I'm looking at what else I can get in a position. And you can wait all day there. So why am I going to go ahead and spend a top 3 pick at a quarterback? I mean,
no, and that's what this list is. It's just not I hate this player list necessarily. There might be 1 or 2 of those on mine, but it's
right. Not yet.
I will not end up with Kyler Murray on probably any of my teams this year, unless it's an auction and he goes for little.
Yes.
That's about it.
To be fair, too, I will say that very rarely do one of us ever pay for a quarterback. I don't know if I ever have. If I did, it probably did not work out for me because I can't even think of it.
Yeah.
I mean, last year we loved Lamar so much because you could get him for nothing. Those are the kind of things I would rather spend my money on because, I mean, who did you get at quarterback last year just to drive the point home?
Who did I get?
And you're probably picking out what, like... I mean, even this year, you'll be able to get Aaron Rodgers at the end of the draft. And I realize he didn't do a whole lot, but if you can throw him and, I'm sure Brady will go ahead of him, but him and Tannehill or something at the end, and you're just like, well, I'm going to play whoever's the hot hand. You'll be completely fine, and you might be just as good as if you drafted Kyler because you don't really know yet.
Yeah, I've been able to get even I don't remember if it was last year or before, get Russell Wilson for not much,
Yeah.
That's been a player that
people said he was going to fall off. We were high on him still.
Right? It's getting Russell Wilson. That was an easy one. There's players like that you can get. I think Carson Wentz, Stafford, who are down the board, can have good seasons. I mean, I'm not, like we've said before, we're not all done on Baker. Baker can be your second quarterback, though. If you get a second and you get a Baker Mayfield, and we'll see. There's the Odell rumors out there now of, is he going to be traded or not? Who knows? But I'm not. There's a lot of guys. I'm not done with these guys. I think there's some solid players that can be found, later on. So no need to spend on quarterback. So all right, we'll move to my number 5. How about that? So my number 5 is actually a player that I do like. I went with the same route you did with the player I like here, and this is actually I should put an asterisk next to this one. Okay, it's kind of almost cheating in a way because it's only based on news that I heard today, and I put Joe Mixon here, number 5. And the only reason is that Joe Mixon, the rumors are he's prepared to hold out if the Bengals don't give him a long-term deal. And so what's the recent history on this? Melvin Gordon last year holding out. It doesn't
didn't
work
really
out.
Work. Yeah.
No. I got chickens talking again.
Yeah.
If you haven't listened to us, hopefully this is last week next to the chickens. So, but
that's a tough one too, because and then you can talk about Le'Veon Bell as well, right? Which you could say worked out because he got the big contract, but
he wasn't the same then after that,
right?
He hasn't been, and so this is why it's just an asterisk right now, because obviously this could change. A deal could happen early, nothing happens, and that's the case. If they do draft Burrow, they don't want this drama going on. They very well. Mixon's a good young running back. They might give him the contract, but also I don't know if paying running backs is the greatest thing in the world, especially Joe Mixon type. No. Carolina just paid McCaffrey. I believe in that one. McCaffrey's just as much of a receiver as he is a running back. I get that, but Mixon, I'm not sure if he's worth a big money deal right now. I mean, he's been good, right? He's been okay, but he hasn't. Has he earned the big money contract enough to hold out right now?
Yeah. If I was him, I would probably, if you're going to go that route, I would go into that thinking I'm going to ask for a bunch. They will come back with, I'm going to get a healthier deal, and I'm taking that because I just want to get what's fair, and I want to get some longevity out of a contract, right? I mean, maybe he's going that route because I can't imagine after seeing what happened. Then again, Melvin Gordon, I mean, it's not the long one that you're hoping to get, but I mean, he's still getting paid. So who knows? Maybe he really believes that he has Cincinnati in a bad place because they're trying to rebuild or something. I don't know.
But it just gets enough hesitation for me right now where, let's say, draft is today, obviously, with the possibility of a holdout. I'm not drafting Joe Mixon as a 7th running back. Just not going to do it. I'll go down. I would go below Mixon and get either Aaron Jones or Nick Chubb right now. It's just simple as that. I'd pass up Mixon every time if that potential is out there. So that's why Mixon makes my number 5. As long as the contract situation is cleared up by the next time we do some kind of, avoid players list before the season, he won't make that, hopefully, because I do like Joe Mixon. So, all right, let's go to your number 4.
My number 4. So this guy has been a just very complimentary player for many, many years now, but Tom Brady has left the Patriots, and I'm going to have to put Julian Edelman on this list. Look, he's going to be 34 next year. He's a slot guy that doesn't necessarily catch a lot of touchdowns. We don't know where the quarterback is going to be. Even if it is someone who is, someone that could be relatively good, that is kind of a veteran in there. If they do get Jameis, if they do get Dalton, even in those situations, I don't have any sort of hopes that his numbers will improve. I think that is completely tied to how many receptions he gets, right? I mean, the guy had, how many receptions he gets, right? I mean, the guy had, 100 catches last year. When he plays a full season, he gets targeted about 150 times. It is massive. I don't think that they can play that way anymore. He's getting older. So for all those reasons, and right now he's not I don't have to go after him aggressively, right? He would be at the back end of a wide receiver 3. I think they have him at 28th and 32nd. The point with this one I'm making is I would be drafting him. I would just need, I just don't think there's any point anymore. I would rather go out, and if I'm trying to get a wide receiver 3 or 4, I'm going for someone that has more upside. And right now, I just don't see any upside for Edelman whatsoever. He might be someone that you pick up off the waiver wire for me, in order to just make sure you have a solid guy that might get a few catches. If you're in a PPR, maybe it changes a little bit, but I'm still staying clear away from Julian Edelman.
Again, he didn't make my list, but he was one of the guys I was just looking at and almost what I'm on it. So yeah, I'm completely on board with Edelman too. I mean, as of now, with the quarterback situation being what Jarrett Stidham, we don't really know anything about him, I guess. This changes too. The Edelman changes if they sign somebody else. Like, I don't know, Cam Newton, let's say. We'll just throw that out there. If they sign him, it probably changes, right?
It changes a little bit, but even with that, I don't think it's going to change his ability to get into the end zone. I don't think it'll change his ability do you really think if Cam Newton is there, he's going to get 150 targets like he did with Tom Brady? I don't think so.
I agree. I just don't see many situations where I draft him because the guys like going below him, I'm picking up players after that. I mean,
right.
And Will Fuller even,
Oh yeah.
Mike Williams.
Oh, and
Brandon Cooks.
Those guys have a lot more upside as well. I mean, think about Will Fuller. If he does stay healthy, he doesn't have Hopkins anymore, which you can look as, bad or good. But, on top of that, these are what he's ranked at right now without a quarterback situation in place, right? So what do you think is going to happen if Cam does actually get signed in there? It's not going to hurt his stock. So I feel like it's only going to make him go up to say the mid 20s. That would be the worst case scenario for him. So I'm just off of it.
All right, I'm going to go to my number 4. And this one's not going to be based on really where the guy's ranked because his rank is, I guess, probably really reasonable. It truly is. I just do not like him. I don't think he's a good player. I don't think he's going to be any good. I just don't have any need to put him on my team. It's going to be David Montgomery. He's 26 right now in Fantasy Pros, which is very reasonable, right? I guess that's a really back-end running back starter. It's one of the lowest you can be. But I still don't want him on my team. I don't honestly think he's good. I don't think he's good. He showed me absolutely nothing that tells me he could be good. I don't buy any David Montgomery. I just don't. And I will take Geis after him. I'll take Sony Michel after him. I'll take Ronald Jones after him if Ronald Jones is still the back in Tampa. I will take Darrell Henderson and take a chance with the Rams. I will take a lot of different guys rather than ever taking David Montgomery. I will definitely go to wide receiver every time and pick somebody there. I just won't have David Montgomery on my team. He would have to be my 4th running back, and it would have to be later before I even ever thought about it. I don't think he's good. It's simple as that. I just don't. Nothing I saw last year gave me anything to believe in. So, no David Montgomery for me.
Yeah, I mean, because of his spot of where he's going. Yeah. I mean, will he end up on my team? There's a very unlikely chance he will. Everyone knows I'm not a big fan of him either. I don't think he's anything too special. Could he get better? Could he get a lot of goal line touches? There's a chance there. So I didn't put him on my list, but I do understand where you're coming from because I don't, even if I did draft him, I guarantee that it was like, oh my God, there's no one else. I didn't like a wide receiver. I didn't like a tight end. Like there is no no edge to be had in that round. Yeah. So I highly doubt it, but yeah, so I get it.
All right, let's see, your number 3.
My number 3 is someone that I've never been really high on. He has been a fine wide receiver, so don't, call me out. I know he's been okay. But Robert Woods for the Rams.
You're gonna get some hate, I think.
I know people.
There's weird Robert Woods fans out there.
But I don't understand why. Okay, and I get it that one year the Rams lit the NFL on fire. It was a couple of years ago, obviously. Last year, I think they showed more of their true colors. They got rid of Brandon Cooks, so people are probably going to say, "Oh, Robert Woods is going to get more." No, he was already a top 2 wide receiver on there. Kupp is going to, take the slot and do all his stuff. I still think he will be solid. I really like his game, but Robert Woods is ranked right now 24th and 22nd. So right now, he is a wide receiver 3, but a healthy one, right? Like you have to go after him, and he's never been a huge touchdown guy. Goff completely, went the wrong way last year. They don't have Gurley anymore, so I don't think, their run game doesn't necessarily scare anyone. And, you don't have Brandon Cooks, even though he was hurt a ton last year. So I'm not sure what you think would happen. I mean, even last year, there wouldn't be a whole lot of return on that investment. So I just don't see any real reason to draft Robert Woods. I just don't get where it's coming from, really. Because, I mean, even this one, what do you have? I mean, he only had 2 touchdowns last year, and I know that it was a very, completely falling off, right? Let me actually look this up before I get too much hate. But, yeah, okay, so, yeah, he only caught 2 touchdowns, last year. And the year before that, when he did really well, right, he had 130 targets and 1,200 yards, but he still only has 6 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns the year before that. Before that, he's never gone over 6. So he kind of had his best year by far in 2018. And then he regressed, even though he was fine. He was a whatever, player. But still, I mean, you wouldn't get any more for your money when there's a ton of other wide receivers to be had. So I think Robert Woods has almost become more of a name, even though I don't really know how.
I don't understand the Robert Woods stuff with us. Like the last couple of years, every time we've always been lower on Robert Woods, and every single time we just get a lot of hate for it. It's been an odd thing. It really has. But okay, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to say I would not draft Robert Woods right now. For sure, I could see the thing is, I get in a lot of situations with Robert Woods. This has happened to me over the last couple of years. I do get spots where I do draft him. I still will draft him, but I never feel good about drafting him. You know what I mean? Like he's made it on teams of mine, but I've never felt good about it. Not once. Not once.
And okay, and look at this too. On Fantasy Pros, I realize there's a bunch of people in here, but he was ranked as high as 13th.
Yeah,
and you look at all the people behind him, and in my mind too, Robert Woods will not be the number 1, right? That'll be Cooper Kupp, even if he plays slot or wherever.
I have Cooper Kupp up at 11th in my wide receiver ranks.
I have no problem with that whatsoever. I really like Cooper Kupp. But, I mean, right below him, just to show, Stephon Diggs, DK Metcalf, T.Y. Hilton, A.J. Green. I mean, those are just the next 4 up. I mean, there's no way I would take Woods over any 4 of those. They have such a better possibility, right? And then you have Terry McLaurin, DJ Chark, Michael Gallup, Deebo Samuels, Jarvis Landry. Not only other people who outproduced him last year, a couple of them, but people that are younger and then just are in a better situation from what we saw from the Rams last year. So there's I don't know. I just can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, you'll probably get some hate for this, but hey.
Yeah, I figured I would.
I mean, I would say he still might make some of my teams, but I won't feel great about it. I just won't. If he's my 3, yeah, I feel better because he could be a 3. So I'd be better, feel better about it. But I don't feel great about. I guess other than Cooper Kupp, I don't feel terribly great about that Rams offense anymore. Wow, what happened 2 years to that team? It's kind of crazy. So they're not the same. But, all right, let's go with my number 3. And it's just another running back who's not really ranked that poorly. It's just I don't believe in him whatsoever at all. And because of that, he makes my list, even though I will buy your arguments, people, that he's a decent value. Okay, sure. But it's James Conner because I don't think he's good. And I didn't think he was good last year. And I made it very clear on the show that I did not think James Conner was any good. And he got hurt, so I guess you can't really say for sure, but I don't think he was any good before he got hurt. I really don't. So I just don't think James Conner can be the starting running back and be a very good one anymore. He had a fine season in 2018, but that was a Steelers team that still had Antonio Brown, and Antonio Brown really did change the team. He made that team much better. Whatever you think about Antonio Brown, that guy is probably still an amazing receiver and can change teams. With that team's not the same. Look what happened to Juju last year. Without Ben, without everything. Ben will be back, but is he? We'll see what he can do. James Conner, I just don't think it's going to be good, and I don't think he's very good. I think he's just a very, very average running back, just very average. And he got to look good when he had good players around him. And you know what? He's not going to. I don't want him on my team. So James Conner.
I get that. I think it changes a little bit if Roethlisberger is back and he's healthy. I think it changes the whole dynamic of the offense. It's very difficult to say that he is nothing off of last year because that offense was in so disrepair. I mean, you're QB number 3.
I get it.
But I do get it because, I mean, you weren't wrong. Like when he got his shot last year, he didn't look anything special. The year before that, he looked a lot better. So it's very difficult for me. I probably won't end up with any of them, but I'm also not ready to completely write him off. But I get where you're coming from.
I was saying this before last season, though.
You were. This is not a new song.
So just something about it. I can't really necessarily tell you what it is, but just not the biggest fan in the world. So there he goes, not on my teams. All right, so that was my number 3. Let's go into our top 2 here. Who do you got at number 2?
Number 2, I'm continuing with that hate train. I just want everyone to hate me by the time this podcast comes out. So my number 2, and once again, this is a guy I really like, but there's no way he's going to end up on my teams. Right now, he's ranked the 20th and the 16th wide receiver is Keenan Allen. So I really, really love Keenan Allen. I've been a huge proponent of him. I think that he, with Phillip Rivers, did a lot of wonderful things, and he bounced back from injuries and did all this stuff, right? He is a guy that can catch 100 balls, and you love him for it. It's just not going to be the same situation with Tyrod Taylor, under center. If it isn't him, it's still not Rivers, who you're insanely used to, and you catch that many balls. Anytime you are relying on bulk and you lose the guy that you've been working with and you're going to have to get a whole new rhythm with someone, I just never feel very secure about it. And I mean, really, he's never a guy that gets into the end zone a ton either, right? I mean, his rookie year, he had 8 touchdowns and then 4-4-0. And then the last 3 years, he was able to get in 6 times a piece, which is great. That's what you're hoping for. But that's also when he averaged catching 100 balls. I mean, once again, I feel like this is a little bit of the Edelman one, but without the age. I think this is because Tyrod Taylor is going to run more. You're just not going to get 159 targets to 136, which is what he went between the last 3 years. So Keenan Allen, I love the guy, but I think with the changes happening for the Chargers, I think that he is going to be a better name than he is at production. So I got to say goodbye to Keenan Allen. He just won't end up on any of my teams.
Yeah, I find this one interesting. I don't know how I feel about Keenan Allen. I don't mind it when he's dropping lower now, but yeah, I don't necessarily like Tyrod Taylor there. And I can see see him getting onto some of my teams. It's going to be the ones that I really wait on receivers, I guess, and he's still there. I don't know. I don't know how to read this one yet. I'll be honest. I'm just not sure because I still think I'm seeing that Keenan Allen name, and I always like to see Keenan Allen on my team usually, but the production hasn't been quite the same. I'm not going to say I'm fully on board, but I'm also I guess I just don't know how to feel about him right now. Yeah, I think part of it is I'm looking around the players around him, and I don't love a lot of the players ranked around him either. So I don't really know how I feel about that whole position at wide receiver anyway. I love Diggs yet. Diggs is below him. I'll pick Diggs all day over him.
Right.
But the rest of the guys around him on Fantasy Pros, you look at them, you got like Devontae Parker, Tyler Lockett, Robert Woods. I don't like that group. I'll tell you.
I
So,
get that. I do think that there's a lot of other people on that team that can soak up targets as well.
is.
And I just assume they're not going to throw as much. So you have Eckler, and if he truly is the starter, he is going to get so many targets. And then you have Hunter Henry that should be healthy. We say that every year. And, so
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean,
I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel about Keenan Allen.
And
It's,
I'm rooting for him. But right now, I'm seeing the writing on the wall and is back off of Keenan Allen for the year.
Yeah, I just don't have a strong opinion right now. I can't tell where I'm going to go with that. But I don't know. All right, let's go my number 2. And I don't really know what this is to me. If it's I don't like the player. It's actually a lot of things. I've never been a big fan of the player. I don't like that he's ranked where he's ranked. And it's going to be Dak Prescott.
I legitimately thought about putting him on here, and then I looked at numbers and I was like, I can't do it. So
no, I get it. I can't. I went to look at those numbers. 4,900 yards, 30 touchdowns, right? I know. Yeah, I looked up those numbers just to see what am I remembering here? Why am I just so against Dak Prescott?
And it's funny because I'm very similar. I have those memories too, and I'm not sure why, but. Go ahead and
I looked up the numbers and I said, you know what? Screw it. He makes my list because I don't want him as the 5th quarterback. I don't want him. I don't think I don't care that Deshaun Watson lost Hopkins. Like I said, I still would pick Deshaun Watson. I want Josh Allen. I still want Aaron Rodgers over him. Honestly, before him. And then even after that, I'll just wait. I will wait and I will get somebody else. I do not need to pay for Dak Prescott. I will take Carson Wentz. I will take Matthew Stafford. I will take Drew Brees. I might take Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's another one of those with me. If Matt Ryan was ranked higher, I would be putting him on my list, maybe. But I will never draft Dak Prescott. And yes, I did have to look up the numbers again just to see what I thought. And I know he's at 4,900 yards, 3 touchdowns. So yeah, I get it. That's not poor, right? I guess I'll say. That's pretty decent. I get it. But, I'm just, I don't know. This is just maybe my irrational bias that I just don't like Dallas Cowboys anymore. Funny thing is, I was a Dallas Cowboys fan in the 90s growing up. Probably because they're winning. I was just a bandwagon. I was a bandwagon fan. Dallas Cowboys, Michael Jordan and the Bulls, the whole, I even had a Yankees hat. Don't ask me why.
I was going to say, to be fair, Dak is not ranked low anymore, right? I mean, he is on the top half of the top 10, right? He should be 5th, 6th, something like that.
Yep.
And I get that. Everyone around him, I mean, they paid for everyone to be there. So if he is ever going to be a shot to be that guy, it'll be this year. I'm also kind of that way too, though, because he's creeping up long enough where you can say, dude, if I'm not gonna pick up someone like Kyler Murray, I'm not gonna pick up someone like Dak. I feel like they're in the same conversation.
You will not end up with Dak Prescott as your quarterback. I know it.
I won't either. No,
you will never end up with him.
I don't have any problem if he was my quarterback, but he'll go before I grab someone.
He won't be on your team.
Right.
I know.
If you're not Mahomes or Lamar, I just feel like. Yep. You're all, you're kind of in the same bucket. Like I can get a huge tier number 2.
Yep, exactly. All right, here we go. Number 1 player that we will not draft in 2020 if we get to draft in 2020, which
yes,
it's for another day.
Yeah. Well, depressing podcast.
All right, so who do you got?
All right, my number 1, and this is what, if you didn't think the last 2 are going to give me hate, this one definitely will.
That's what we love to do here.
Yes, and but I am dead serious on this one. I don't necessarily have a problem with him, but I am dead serious that there's no way he will end up on any of my teams the way he's projected right now, and that's DJ Moore.
Yeah.
No way. There's just not a way. Right now he is ranked in the top 10, so 10th and 11th. He will have to be your wide receiver 1 pretty much coming out of this bad boy. And I get it, last year he did fine. I mean, it wasn't – I see where people are kind of like, okay, well, we're seeing him put it together and he's starting to get it. And you could say he didn't have a whole lot of quarterback help, all of which I cannot argue with. I think that is, pretty – legit. But at the same time, even with saying all that and him getting his stuff together, he was still ranked the 21st wide receiver last year, right? And that is with him going over 1,000 yards. So last year he had almost 1,200 yards receiving, only 4 touchdowns on 87 receptions. They targeted him 135 times, right? And he played 15 games, so he only missed 1. And I'm saying all of this because it leads into the fact that a lot of people are going to say, well, now he has Teddy Bridgewater. Now those numbers are going to jump even more because they're trending in the right direction. And I could maybe get behind that, besides for the fact that we don't know what Teddy Bridgewater is. And he did start for the Saints and he looked pretty good, but also the Saints are a really good team. The Panthers, not really. So Teddy Bridgewater, if you extrapolated his games out, right, because he played 6 full games, he threw 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, he had 1370 for yardage. You take that and a full 16 game season, which we're not sure if he can even handle yet. So he has 3,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, nothing to write home about. And that would be his best year yet. And I know that he dealt with injuries, but he was on a Vikings team that had Stephon Diggs and Rudolph, and they weren't a bad team when he was coming up. And I realized he was young, but at the same time, I mean, do you really think that he is going to go for over 4,000 yards in this offense? And you don't think that the large, big, huge portion of that was going to be Christian McCaffrey? Maybe he repeats on getting to 1,000 yards. Maybe he could. But, last 2 years, he got 4 touchdowns this year. He got 2 touchdowns the year before that. They do try to rush the ball with him a little bit, but I mean, that's only been, so effective. You're not going to rush him a ton. So any way you split this, I just do not see how you can draft DJ Moore as a wide receiver 1. And I probably wouldn't even draft him as a wide receiver 2 because I think there's other players I would rather have there, which leads me to the long-winded reason why between him and Teddy Bridgewater and what's going on in Carolina, DJ Moore will not be on any of my teams.
So, yeah, DJ Moore. When we did overvalued players, which is, I guess, a similar list, we did this a few months back, he made my list. And there was some hate for that. People were like, yeah, he's clearly a number 1 receiver. Well, I mean, is he yet? That's the hope, right? But he wasn't there last year. Seems like a premature ranking to me. And I get it too, based on the players around him. I don't really love this second tier of players right now at wide receiver. This wide receiver 2s, I don't love it. I really don't, honestly. There's not a lot. I don't have a lot of confidence. So I get why he moves up. But yeah, he did. Okay, he's not on my list today. But I get the thoughts. I get the process behind it. I can't say he won't be on my team because he will be on our keeper league. He will be on my team.
That's a little bit different.
He's my keeper.
He does have a lot of potential, but I'm talking about 2020.
I'm trying not to. Sometimes I can get in our main league we play in. I feel like sometimes keeping a player can make you slightly biased. And I will say I keep DJ Moore and Darius Geis. So if anybody, there you go. But I get where you're at here. And DJ Moore, I mean, everyone's in love with Teddy Bridgewater, okay? And I think he can be a good winning quarterback. I don't know if that necessarily translates to fantasy stats. I don't know. And this is going to be a Christian McCaffrey show too. So, and Robbie Anderson take away from Moore? Maybe, I don't know. I get why he's ranked where he is just because the players around him. I mean, Cortland Sutton's right after him at Fantasy Pros, which Cortland Sutton, again, that's another hoping he makes that leap, right? It's another one. I like Cortland Sutton too. I know you're a Cortland Sutton fan, but it's again hoping he makes the leap. There's Jalen Robinson, A.J. Brown. There's a lot of players around here that there's question marks on why they're here. So I get it, but yeah, you're going to get some hate for that.
Yeah, I know I will. But come on, 10th.
I get it. No, I get it.
I knew I was going to get the hit, but
he's 14th for me right now. He's actually 14th. I think because I have Odell at 10. Trying to think here. I don't have it up in front of me. I have Odell at 10. I think Cooper Kupp might be 11, actually.
I was going to say, Thielen,
And then I don't have Thielen ahead of him yet.
I would have Thielen ahead of him.
I think Thielen might be behind him. So Kupp's ahead of him. Kupp's ahead of him. I think Allen Robinson's ahead of him.
What about A.J. Brown?
A.J. Brown, I'm not sure what to think about A.J. Brown yet.
Cooper Kupp. Well, maybe T.Y. Hilton. I don't know what you think about
T.Y. Hilton's down there. No, I think it's just. I think it might be. I think Sutton might be ahead of him. I can't remember. It's for sure Robinson and Kupp, and there's a couple guys like that. So, but yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from with DJ Moore. I do like the player. I do. So, but all right, I guess we'll go to my number 1. He's a similarly ranked wide receiver, and I will get some hate, Jeff, for this. I say this, Dallas Cowboys fans are going to hate me.
Oh my God.
They are going to hate me as I go Dak 2 and I go Amari Cooper number 1.
Amari number 1.
This has just been a long-standing thing with me and Amari. And he haunts me from a couple years ago when he scored an insane amount of points in just the fourth quarter and overtime to knock me out of just a sure shot championship. It would have been championship number 6 in our league. He took me away from that, and I've hated him ever since. But he is just so up and down. His stats get so inflated by big games. Because this guy, the talent is there. Oh, it's 100% there. This guy is as talented as they come at wide receiver. Clearly. But it shows up sometimes in a couple games that really, really inflate his numbers, I believe. So against Green Bay last year, 11 for 226 and a touchdown. Against Minnesota, 11 for 147 and a touchdown. Those 2 games were massive, right? He only had 2 other games over 100 yards the entire season. He had a 6 for 106 and a 5 for 106. So he had 4 games over 100. That's okay, I guess, right? But you want more than that, don't you? You want your number 1 receiver to really be putting up big numbers. But he had a 4 for 44 against Washington, a 5 for 48 against the Saints, 1 for 3 against the Jets. 4 for 80, I'll take in a touchdown. That's fine. 3 for 38 against the Lions. 1 for 19. 4 for 24. There's a lot of those games in there, and that worries me as you're drafting him as a number 1 receiver. And I cannot do that. I can't draft Amari Cooper for that reason. I mean, shoot, that was just 2019. I could probably go back to 2018 and read you the same thing, the same kind of. And here it is. He had a 10 for 217 and 3 touchdowns. He had an 8 for, oh, that's the game, isn't it? The 10 for 217.
That's the one.
And then 8 for 180 and 2 touchdowns. And he only had 2 other 100-yard games that year, 4 100-yard games again. I mean, he had a 2 for 17 and a 3 for 36 and a 4 for 32 and a 4 for 20 and a 5 for 31. That pisses me off, Jeff. He went 10 for 217 and 3 touchdowns and followed it up with 4 32, 4 for 20 and 5 for 31. Man, what is up with this?
Sadly enough, I do agree with you to an extent. But I guess your rationale where you're talking about like DJ Moore and you're like, I don't like that second. Like, I do think Amari Cooper can be looked at as a back end wide receiver 1, even though that's not who I would want.
I don't want him.
Yes, I mean, I agree with you on that one. But he still put up, I mean, he was still in the top 10 last year. I mean, he outperformed DeAndre Hopkins and Mike Evans.
If you're basing off those big games though.
Yeah, but I mean, it's better than someone you get like if you went for DJ Moore, who is probably ranked right after him because I'm sure he's ranked 9th or something.
I get it. Cooper's 9th right now. Moore's 11th, so I get it based on where he's at in the tier there. But yeah,
I get where you're coming from because there's nothing more frustrating than if you're going to pick someone with that high of a pick or put that kind of draft capital for any player. You want them to be somewhat consistent week to week, right? I mean, yes, you want them to have these big flashy games. That's great. But they also have to go out there and catch 5 balls a game because you want them to have a shot at that every time. But to have a quarter of your games where you're only getting looked at 4 times or something is very frustrating. And heaven knows that Dallas does have enough, enough talent to go around, right? Dak can run the ball as well as throw. Gallup really did come into his own last year. I like the way he's going. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott, you could give the ball to him, all day. So there's a lot of mouths to feed there. And Amari Cooper has never been one to, I would say, demand or kind of force himself on the game and like, I'm going to take over now. I don't, that's not really the type of player I see him as. So you will get these types of games. So in that case, I do understand. But last year, he did put up the big numbers. In a couple games. Yes, in a couple games. But he was still 7th overall. And, if you're going to be...
Boosted by a couple games.
Also very true. And then Dak, So I get your point. But
Cowboys fans will hate me.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of hate for that one. And I'm not going to protect you.
No, it's going to be... Yeah, it'll be bad. So.
Oh, good. Right. So we'll have the entire state of Texas going against us and Carolina.
Yeah, here we go. I'll say I don't make this list for any kind of controversy. It's legitimately. I'm not drafting those guys. So It's not going to happen. All right, so that's going to do it for the Do Not Draft list. Next week we'll be a little nicer. We're going to do our top 5 draft day steals, players who we think are really undervalued right now and are going to help you win championships. We'll be nice next week and pick guys we like. How about that? No more negativity.
It'll make me feel better.
So, all right, that'll do it for this week. We will talk to you guys next week.